Hello, challengers. I wanted to make this video for you today to talk a little bit about the hardest part of health and fitness, which is nutrition. And I know all of you out there know that nutrition really is the bulk of your results, and it's the foundation piece. So since we'll be doing a lot of talking about nutrition, I wanted to make sure to give you the best tools possible. If you've looked through your program, you know that you have a nutrition guide available to you. So I urge you to take a look at that, and there is some great stuff in there. But when I looked at it, I noticed that there wasn't a whole lot of options for recipes and variety. So I wanted to make sure you had another resource at your disposal. But by all means, start looking through that nutrition guide, play around with some of the recipes, find out what you like and what you don't like, and start adding those things to your weekly routine. But the resource I wanted to show you today is my favorite cookbook of all time, Well Fed. And this is it. There's a few other people in the group that have this book or have eaten from it, so can give you some good firsthand experience. If you notice, it says paleo recipes for people who love to eat, but I would just disregard the whole term paleo. Whether you know about it or not, I don't think it matters. This is just a book full of great food. And if you're trying to eat healthy, this has got some great options for you. If you notice in the top, it says grain, sugar, legume, and dairy free. So all of these recipes do not include any of those things. Those are actually common food allergens, and whether you think you have a problem with them or not, there's so many different levels of reactions that people have with those allergens that sometimes it's nice just to completely get them out of the equation and really see what happens. And I can tell you that as far as fitness results, what I see most often is you have things like grains or gluten in particular, sugar and dairy can really inhibit your progress and your results. And a lot of people don't necessarily think to take those things out for a little while just to see what happens. So again, this is the book, and people always ask me, how can I eat healthier? And you're talking to a self-professed junk food lover. I probably would eat fast food 3 times a day if I could. But for me, it really comes down to 2 things. And one is you need to find healthy recipes that are so good, they're so amazing, and they're so tasty that you would choose those over unhealthy foods. And just think about it this way. If you think healthy eating is plain chicken breast and steamed broccoli every night, that doesn't sound too exciting to anybody. So you really need to find recipes that are full of flavor, they're unique, and they're really something that you can enjoy eating on a daily basis. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is pre-planning. Having a plan in mind for the week really helps you stick to your healthy eating. So I just wanted to walk you through a few things in this book just so you get an idea of what's included. And basically the front of the cookbook is your standard cookbook stuff. She talks about her story and how she came and to embrace the paleo way of eating. Things like what kind of tools you need in your kitchen, how to stock your pantry, what kind of spices you need, all of that good stuff. This to me was actually the greatest part of the cookbook in my opinion. And that's the how-to for the weekly cook-up. Now, I'm not the first person that you've heard weekly cook-up from, and I won't be the last. I had heard it tons of times before, but I kept hearing that I should be doing one, but I just never knew what that looked like until this book came along. So in this, she actually lays out exactly how to do a weekly cook-up, how much food you need to buy, what kind of things you should be prepping to get the most mileage from, and how to make it fun when you're in the kitchen prepping all that food. So this was the first time it actually made it visible to me. And now it's become so much a part of my routine and so automatic that it's really easy to do. So there's even a section devoted to the weekly cook-up. I'm sorry, my book's falling apart here. The first 3 recipes are really important because they're your foundation recipes. And the first one is grilled chicken thighs. And she gives you instructions on how to do them baked, which is what we do. You have garlic brown ground meat, and it's as simple as putting some ground meat in a pan with some garlic powder, cooking it up, and you store it in your fridge, just like the chicken thighs. And then you have your steamed sauteed veggies. And this is great for when you come home from the store. We usually grocery shop on the weekends. You come home with all your veggies, you can process them and steam saute them right away, and then store them in your fridge, and you've got ready to go vegetables at any time. And you need all of that to make hot plates. And to me, this is worth its weight in gold. And it was interesting because I didn't really pay a lot of attention to this section of the book when I first got it, and it wasn't until later that I really started experimenting with it and found that it is so useful. And this really is kind of a game changer for, those of us who have full-time jobs. We have busy lives, and it's hard to get in the kitchen and make, a 5-course meal from scratch every night. Hot plates are a great way to go. And this is the recipe, but it's actually more of a formula, because if you turn the page, she actually has listed by the different types of cuisine all the different combinations for hot plates. And these all use those 3 foundational recipes I just showed you. And basically, let me show you the categories. It's American, Chinese, Central and Eastern European, French, Greek, Indian, Italian, Middle Eastern, Moroccan, and Thai. And so this is great when, you're putting together your meal plan, which we do on Saturdays. We just kind of look and say, what kind of food do we feel like eating this week? And for example, if I feel like having some Chinese food, I can make a healthy version at home. The first one listed under Chinese takes ground beef, and that's the foundation recipe that you have already cooked in your fridge. Eggplant and red bell pepper, and those are your steam sauteed veggies. Again, that foundation recipe. Those are already cooked and ready to go in your fridge. And then the best stir-fry sauce ever, which is included in this book. And so basically you have all your ingredients already cooked in the fridge. It's just a matter of throwing them in a pan and heating them through. And you've really got a 10-minute dinner on the table. And really the key here is she has put together the flavor combinations for you. So she's done an outstanding job of really capturing the flavors of the different types of cuisines by the different spices or sauces that she uses or the combination of vegetables. So that is really a great way to save a lot of time and eat healthy. So sauces and seasonings is the next section. Here's a great one, olive oil mayo. Making homemade mayonnaise is really not that difficult to do. It's usually part of my weekly cook-up because you can use it for so many different things, and I'll show you that in a second. Lots of different types of seasonings, which is great because you can make them and you know that you're not getting, a bunch of added sugar in your seasonings. And then you just store them in a glass container on your counter and you have it ready to go anytime. So here's an example, Italian sausage seasoning. I like to make a batch of this, and again, I keep it in a glass container on the counter. Then I have lots of packages of ground pork, and then anytime I want homemade sausage patties, I've got the seasoning ready. Throw it in with the ground pork and make my patties. She's got pesto in here. Moroccan dipping sauce is absolutely incredible. It's my dipping sauce of choice for vegetables. Goes great with meats as well. Very intense flavor. I've actually brought that for lunch numerous times, and people are drawn to it by the smell, and they always ask me about it. So here's what I mean by the olive oil mayonnaise. You go to this page, and she has recipes for creamy Italian dressing, plus Southwest cumin lime dressing, ranch dressing, Middle Eastern dressing, and sweet mustard dressing. And all of those use the olive oil mayonnaise as a base, and which is great because you're not just making one thing for one purpose. The point of a cook-up is to make something that's very versatile that you can use in lots of different dishes. So it's great to have on hand. Then you get to your protein section, and this is kind of all your main dish stuff. Lots of great unique things. Moroccan meatballs are amazing. This was a great book for me because I'm kind of a picky eater, and so this has really exposed me to a lot of different flavor combinations and different types of cuisines that I normally don't get to experience. We have chocolate chili, which is a good one. And one of my favorites, and I know a couple people in this group can vouch for this as well, is the citrus carnitas. And this is one of those recipes that I'm talking about when I say you have to find stuff that is so good that you would choose it over junk food. That's really a key to healthy eating. So I'll be honest, I still love my pizza and I eat it, but I can honestly say if I had citrus carnitas in front of me and pizza, I would choose the citrus carnitas. It's that good. Really easy to make. You get some leftovers out of it. It's a really fun one. And just to show you kind of the setup of the book, each recipe has the directions. Some of the recipes have a section at the bottom for notes, so you can take notes. They all have a section, which I love, called You Know How You Could Do That. And what she does there is she actually tells you if you were to remove this ingredient and add these ingredients in, you have a whole new twist on the recipe. So it gives you a lot of different options to kind of tweak it so you're not eating the same thing all the time. And then she also has a section called Taste Great With. Like a lot of cookbooks, she tells you what would pair well with it so you get the best combinations. Here's another example of one of those really unique recipes that I love called Bora Bora Fireballs. And there's a picture of it. And in case you can't tell, they are pork meatballs. And they're called fireballs because there's a lot of spice in them, but there's pineapple and jalapeno, cayenne pepper, ginger, garlic, green onions. Those are all mixed into the meatball. And then the meatball is actually coated in shredded coconut. So that was one of those recipes where I thought, I can't even picture how that would all taste together, but it turns out it's absolutely amazing. It's a great flavor combination. And I love doing things like meatballs because they make a great dinner, and then you can actually store them in the fridge, and then I'm able to take meatballs for a couple lunches during the week. And Bora Bora Fireballs is another one that every time I've heated it up for lunch, I get comments on, what is that smell? And then they come over and want to know all about it. So you keep going through the protein section, lots of great stuff, and then you get to the veggies and salads. Here's another one, Creamy Spice Market Kale. And we all know about kale, we all know how healthy it is. I gotta say I'm not the biggest kale fan in the world, but I'll eat it. But this one was really great. It made it creamy, really great flavor combination. There was a really warm spice that went with it. And then you can add raisins to it, which I love raisins, so I was on board with that. But it's a great way to get some healthy veggies. And then one of my favorites is cauliflower rice pilaf. This is a great recipe. I never ate a lot of cauliflower. I didn't really know how to make it or prepare it in a good way, but I finally found a recipe online, which I can post in our group page, that was just roasting it in the oven with olive oil, salt and pepper, and some curry powder, and that was incredible. And then it kind of opened me up to experience different ways to do cauliflower, and this is a great one. So you basically put cauliflower into the food processor, turn it into rice, and then you saute it. It has apricot halves in it, raisins, pine nuts, onion, garlic, cumin, and cinnamon. And this is a great one. It makes a great dinner, and then it stores and reheats very well, so you can actually take it for lunch a couple days. So you have your veggie and salad section. And then the last section is a pretty short one, and that's fruits. And in this section, there's actually a few dessert type recipes. So we're able to treat ourselves because eating healthy doesn't mean you have to deprive yourself. A lot of great little dessert recipes and fruit recipes. But the focus really is more on vegetables and protein. And in another video, I'll do a really short intro about the easiest way, because I'm all about simplifying and making it as easy as possible, how to design your dinner plate. Here's another great one. This is caramelized coconut chips, and I include this in my weekly cook-up because it's literally about 5 minutes of hands-on time. And you just take coconut flakes and put them in a saute pan, and you've got some salt and cinnamon on them. So it's a great source of healthy fat. I store them in little small containers and I throw it in my lunch, and it's a great crunchy sweet treat. And she gives options for how to make it savory with different spice combinations. And then in the very back, she has a place for resources. And that's really a big part of clean eating, is really trying to find the best sources of food, because we all know there's so many contaminants in the food supply that trying to get the best quality that you can is important. So she gives you sources of where to do that. And I also have great sources that I've found over the years, so I'm happy to share those with you anytime. So that is a great resource. Every recipe in here, except for one, is Whole30 approved. And if you don't know about the Whole30, you can ask a couple other people in this group as well. I've been through 2 of them. I tend to do it in January. It's a real food nutritional reset, and it is extremely strict. There are all kinds of regulations of what you can and cannot eat. And so I consider it kind of the gold standard of nutrition. It really wipes out all that processed stuff. It focuses on high quality food. And so I love that everything in here is Whole30 approved. And so that way I don't even have to think about it. I know when I'm making a recipe from here, I'm getting the gold standard. It's going to taste good. It's got high nutrients. It's got the right proportions of everything. So it's nice to be able to know I'm getting a really nutritious meal. So I encourage you to check it out. And if you have any questions about it, you can always ask. So happy eating. Until next time.